Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week, friendship has evolved.
Welcome.
Hello.
We've made a return.
We've made a return again.
Made a return to horror movies for some reason, even though it's not October.
Right? I was about to say I guess we did Alien last week, and now we're doing M3GAN this week.
It's all over.
It's a dangerous trend. Oh my.
We're just waiting until next week we do Scream 4.
Dude, Scream 4. What a picture. But yeah, hello. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Micah.
And we're both kind of sick, but
yeah,
we also happen to do a weekly podcast called Recently Logged, where we talk about movies. And that's what we're doing today. We're talking about the movies.
We're talking about the movies.
Specifically a recent movie.
A recent movie. That's crazy.
If you can even believe it. I think I already spoiled what it was in the
you already
little
said
opening.
M3GAN.
But
so
yeah,
we're talking about M3GAN.
Talking about M3GAN. It's a movie.
It's an interesting movie.
There's a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and tell the people what they need to know about M3GAN.
Let's. Alright, so M3GAN is a 2022 picture, unfortunately for my 2023 ranked, because I was going to add this, because this wasn't out until theaters here until January.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's a 2023, but no, it's not. It's a 2022 movie.
2022 film.
It's rated PG-13. It is an hour and 42 minutes. Its little IMDb description is, a robotics engineer at a toy company builds a lifelike doll that begins to take on a life of its own. It's a little, It's a little repetitive. Should get a better writer. Its cast features Allison Williams, Violet McGraw, Ronny Chieng, Army Donald, Jenna Davis, and a lot of people. There's more people in this.
Well, there you go. Wow, who'd have thought that a movie would have more people in it?
Directed by Gerard Johnstone.
Yes.
And written by Akela Cooper and James Wan.
Yeah.
The team from Malignant.
I was about to say, the writing team that brought you Malignant, which we also did an episode on.
I was about to say, James Wan himself has done a lot more, but the two of them together specifically worked on Malignant.
Yes.
And now M3GAN.
Now M3GAN. And supposedly soon M3GAN 2.0.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, that's everything you need to know about M3GAN. I suppose you could research it a bit more if you really wanted to. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and tell you.
Tell you.
I was gonna say talk, but tell you what we thought of the movie.
So, Robbie.
Yes.
My lovely co-host and brother.
I don't know about lovely.
And, movie watching companion often.
That is true. We do watch a lot of movies.
What do you think of the hit 2022 movie? And I do say hit because it's been a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
M3GAN.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a surprising box office hit. I guess we didn't really talk much about that in the basic facts, but it's doing quite well.
Yeah,
it was doing quite well.
I mean, it's done well enough that it already has they greenlit a sequel, which I feel like this was already written to have a sequel, clearly.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm sure they were already planning on it, but the fact that they're already yeah, we can do this because it's got a really good reception.
I mean, after that TikTok ad campaign kind of took off, it was kind of inevitable that it would have a pretty good box office.
Dude, the advertisement campaign for this rocked.
It was pretty cool. I can't argue with that. But yeah, M3GAN, it's from the same writers who did Malignant, so I was obviously very excited for it. If you go back and listen to our Malignant episode, I am a very big fan of that movie. And my love for it has only grown since then. So, but yeah, The writers of Malignant wrote M3GAN, and it's a lot of fun, just like Malignant. Who would have thought?
That's so crazy.
Obviously not an R-rated movie. I know that's kind of a hang-up for a lot of people, but I really enjoyed it in spite of its ungrisliness a lot of the time. I think its commentary on people's current relationship with technology is very timely and pretty good, if not a little blunt. But I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a good picture with some fun effects and some good performances, fun sequences. I like it. It's a good time.
Oh, there you go. He likes it, and it's a good time.
What about you, Micah? What do you think of M3GAN?
What do I think of M3GAN? I think M3GAN is a very interesting movie. I think it brings a lot of really fun and unique things to horror that we haven't seen in like a new horror movie in a while, especially a lot of like bringing your villains some good like iconography, giving them some good staying power, making them just like fun to watch. I feel like we haven't had a really good like fun to watch original villain in a while.
I was about to say there has been, to my memory, very few modern horror movies that have like a wholly original villain or monster or whatever that feels like a thing, like a thing outside of the movie, just iconic.
I was about to say there are a lot of monsters and stuff that are original, obviously, but usually either in stuff like that they're like killed in the first movie, or it's not really a movie made to continue on. Like even Smile has like a cool monster, but that's not. He's not coming back.
Smile.
He's not made to be like. I'm saying like this is. It's good to have something kind of like a Jason or a Freddy, or as silly as it is sounding to compare M3GAN to that, like that's the kind of thing she falls into.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and that's fun. The movie is kind of it's not perfect. It's got some pacing problems, and it's not always the most like fun or engaging, but it is really goofy and enjoyable for the most part. And I love when M3GAN is allowed to just like do M3GAN things.
Right. I was about to say any like solo M3GAN scenes are so funny and good, and I like them a lot.
So yeah, I laugh a lot. I enjoyed it a lot, and it's pretty good. I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 on both viewings. Yeah. We watched the theatrical cut on Peacock first. Both of our viewings were at home, sadly. But then last night we watched the unrated cut, which is also on Peacock at the moment.
Which the story with that is that apparently like they had finished the movie, pretty much the unrated cut, and realized that like the producers realized that this was like 2 inches away from being PG-13, and they could probably sell more with that, so they just did that because literally they probably have like 10 uses of the F word and a little bit of blood. Yeah, so like easily edited.
You could just chop it down to a PG-13, and chop they did.
And I don't think it really takes away that much. I don't think the unrated cut's like that much better, but I do prefer the unrated cut, actually. Yeah. It was a bit more fun.
I was about to say, I don't think it's like a huge leap in quality or anything, but like honestly, the unrated cut just has a little bit more fun with some of its more violent sequences. Yeah. You get some like a bit better rhythm in a lot of those, actually. With the unrated cut, which I mean that's how they were originally staged and shot. Yeah, so it makes sense.
Because even for example, like the whole ear thing, it's like just weirdly edited in the PG-13.
It's kind of choppy in the PG-13 cut,
but because they can actually show it in the R-rated cut. Though the one thing that is actually taken down from the fact that this was not the final cut is you can notice that this was not the like the final cut that they put money into. Like again, like with the ear shot, and even with like the face getting. With the sprayer, a lot of the gore that's not just blood definitely looks like it was not given the full budget to be a good effect.
I mean, it looks good. It looks
fine.
I think all of those gore effects look like they're practical, and like it doesn't look like they touched them up really.
The blood and everything. In
well,
the ear
that's true.
Definitely like the ear looked like outside of the actual pulling.
I was about to say
the ripping off of the ear was digital.
Oh, interesting.
Or at least. It looked digital to me, and the blood was.
Yeah, I think the blood was.
Which again, take like Malignant, it's riding that fine line because like all the blood almost looks digital, even though they used a lot of practical blood.
I was about to say a lot of the blood splatter in Malignant is digital, but there's a couple. I watched a whole behind the scenes thing for it, and there was a shocking amount of like. Just like very little actual practical blood, but that movie does look good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just interesting. Like I said, I would if you're like okay with it, it's really not that bad content wise, but if you're okay with it, I would definitely suggest the unrated cut of not Malignant, M3GAN.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you are a horror film aficionado, go watch the unrated cut instead of the PG-13 one. You'll probably have a bit more fun with it.
But then again, nobody has Peacock Plus, so what are we even talking about?
Peacock Premium,
or
Micah.
Peacock Premium.
Ooh.
What are we even talking about? Nobody's going to be able to watch that.
I will say, Peacock's kind of stepping up their game.
They got Tar.
They got Tar now. You can't deny a streaming service that has Tar, in my mind.
Revy, or is it perfect poetry for Lydia Tar to end up on Peacock?
Darn it. It's the final insult.
Exactly.
But yeah, M3GAN. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, M3GAN.
They're talking. We just start talking about Tar for the next hour.
So what do you think about Lydia Tar?
You think Lydia Tar's actions are justified?
So do you have any questions to kick us off into our discussion of M3GAN?
Sure I do, Micah.
Sure he does.
What do you think?
What do I think
of M3GAN's take on like electronic horror? Because that's a very much an emerging genre in the current years. Like,
yeah.
I think I would say from like 2017 onward is probably the rise of it. But with stuff like Black Mirror and I think maybe the new Twilight Zone covers it a little too, but there's very much a trend in horror movies now to have like AI horror, which obviously AI kind of like centered horror movies have been around for a little while now. But it's kind of more tangible now.
We just talked about Alien Revy.
I was about to say, with emerging technologies, it seems a bit more topical and immediate.
Well, no, it's just it's a thing that's been brought back into a lot more light in a different kind of perspective than what it used to be.
Yeah,
it used to be like, wow, that's a scary concept. I'm sure that'll never happen.
I was about to say, watching 2001 in the 60s, you're like, that's a scary concept. I hope that doesn't happen.
And now, like, we look into the eyes of M3GAN while staring at two HomePods sitting in the room, and you know, it's a little bit more tangible. But anyway, I actually think it's got a very interesting, pretty simple, albeit simple but interesting topic conversation for technology. And because you know, you could argue that the entire thing is more or less about like kids using kids being raised on technology.
Yeah, no, I would say that's the main like theme of the movie is like parenthood in the age of technology. And
with that, I don't think it's like swinging for the fences with anything. It's not really saying like crazy things. It's just like, oh, maybe that's not great.
I was gonna say maybe we should be a little cautious about this. Yeah.
Maybe that will emotionally stunt your child. Maybe they will not have a good relationship. Like it's very like surface level, but it doesn't need to be anything more. It's not trying to be this grand like manifesto with a big message in it. Yeah. And I think using that as kind of a jumping off point to allow M3GAN to just be like a goofy, fun villain is kind of the perfect use for that.
No, it is. Because I think it balances it really well.
I was about to say, because you also have that background of M3GAN being a kid's toy, allowing her to have like more fun and goofy things, like her musical numbers and like her dance kill. Dude. And like she's got like a lot of really fun things influenced by like, you know, its topic, you know, a lot of kids media.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate how like intentional M3GAN is in how it uses a lot of its thematic stuff and like general internet aesthetics and everything. I think it's really cool. It's one of my favorite things about it, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's not super in-depth, complex, or like trying to do too much, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's just general acknowledgement of how damaging, like, raising children on technology can be. I think it's affirming and scary enough to just carry the movie without going too far in depth in it.
Yeah, I was about to say, and it was interesting because I didn't really pay that close of attention to it the first watch, but you pointed it out in the second watch that it also kind of has like some sub-theming going on about like technology as a tool of parenting isn't a bad thing.
Exactly, yeah. I was about to say with, what's his name? Bruce,
yeah.
At the end, I was like, well, I wonder why Bruce is here. And then I'm like, oh, he's literally like a good example of M3GAN. Like,
I was about to say
how
he is like M3GAN, but completely controlled.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's funny. I don't remember who it was. It might have been one of the producers. But I was reading through the Wikipedia page for this earlier, and they were saying how this film kind of mocks people who see AI conversation as like a real conversation, like chatbots and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could see that for sure, but I think it leans far more heavily into like just general kids like entertainment and education and stuff. It's quite good. I don't know.
Well,
it's something that I care about. So
yeah, I was about to say, and like a lot of stuff has like yeah, you could go for that, but I don't know. It really comes off like you joked about throughout watching, like, oh no, she's arguing with the YouTube algorithm.
I think that's so funny
because there's so much malicious stuff coming at kids on a technological sphere, and so many people don't even like know.
No, it was funny because I was watching through it and I was like, well, they keep emphasizing like the kind of algorithmic. Thank you. I cannot pronounce that. Algorithmic, like AI learning tendencies of M3GAN. Like they mention it like a bunch of times, and I'm like, I wonder if there's like something similar to that. I'm like, oh, it's like the YouTube algorithm. don't let your kids on YouTube, guys. Is what I'm saying. But yeah, no, I think it's an interesting parallel that you can draw because M3GAN does function like as an educational tool a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know. I just really like the way they write M3GAN.
Again, like, and I think it's actually got some smart writing throughout because, again, that theme kind of pops up even in small little things. Again, it's nothing like mind blowing, but even like, you know, like in the beginning of the film, Cady draws a picture for Gemma, and it's like, it's not like the greatest picture, but like, again, no kid draws the greatest pictures.
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't really get like child prodigy artists.
I was about to say it's fun and like, you know, it's a good expression and everything like that. And then M3GAN comes in and like the first introduction of what M3GAN can do is she like in 2 seconds like heartlessly draws this Picasso painting. Dude. So I was like why it comes into that kind of thing where I've even seen some kids like the kids just don't draw that much anymore. Yeah, you know, they got tablets, so why draw?
Man, I was about to say this movie, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just old and grumpy. But
the darn kids these days
and their tablets. But I don't know. I read this movie very much as like a kind of cautionary tale about letting your child grow up on a tablet. And the more I know, it's just like, it could be just confirmation bias watching through it a second time, but I was like, I don't see how you could really take this as much else.
I mean, you could just take it as just AI in general.
Yeah, just like AI bad, but I think it has a lot to do specifically with like child technology and everything. Yeah, since it emphasizes it so much.
I was about to say, even the malicious way that children are often like marketed to. Oof. Because again, the reason like children marketing is such a regulated sphere is because of the way kids are marketed to. Like it's brutal, especially on stuff like YouTube and stuff like that. Kids are marketed to with really malicious intent. And I think it's interesting too that you have quite a bit of like marketing stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say the film literally opens with an ad for Perpetual Pets,
which they did such a good job of making the ad seem like something you'd see on like Disney Channel.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot how like just absolutely blatantly terrible the Disney Channel ads were until I like turned on Disney Channel a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, did I used to watch this?
I still have this one in my head. I still have this one in my head that I don't remember. We watched, I think this was when we were at our grandma's house. Yeah. When we were cleaning out the house. Because I remember this ad, and all I remember is the guy going, dip and dip, dip and dip and dip and dip.
Oh my gosh. It was I don't even remember what kind of toy it was.
It was something that you could dip. Candy? Man. It might have been I don't know. But he went dip and dip, dip and dip and dip and dip.
I swear.
And that was the end of the ad. And I was like, what the heck? And that line delivery has stuck in my head for forever.
Amazing. But yeah, what do you think? Okay, what do you think of the Perpetual Pets snowplow opening, Mike?
Of the opening in general, I mean, I think it's fine. I think the Perpetual Pets are more meant to be just funny. which
Yeah.
they are.
They're kind of a joke.
I don't think they have any deeper thematic, like, other than being like, wow, kids' toys now, like, suck.
I was about to say, kids' toys kind of suck. Yeah.
This is a little embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I feel so old when I talk about M3GAN, just because it's about, like, kids stuff being
kids these
bad.
days.
Yeah, like kids' toys and, like, just general.
Well, you know, Robbie,
technology.
we grew up pretty much in the last generation before growing up, like, young on technology.
Yeah, that's very true. We had like a little family computer growing up that could run like little CD games,
And even though we weren't really like allowed on it much, like, growing up, you know,
which I'm very glad for. I think that's probably for the best. But yeah, I always feel so old whenever I start talking about M3GAN, just because I'm like, the kids stuff.
Kids these days,
it's
seems
terrible.
like nowadays, obviously.
It seems today that all you see. But yeah, no, I just thought it was a fun opening for the movie, and I honestly think that the, like, snowplow thing is a good tone setter for the movie, because I don't know, I think this movie does a pretty good job of balancing its kind of more like, I guess not horrifying, that sounds too extreme, but horrifying and comedic elements.
Creepy.
I would say, yeah, creepy or unsettling
elements.
is probably a better word for it, but I admire how well it balances its tone, and it felt a bit goofier on the second watch.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing for this movie. I think it needs to be goofy, it needs to be fun, because I don't think, quite frankly, a lot of the emotional stuff and the character work between Gemma and Cady work for me, like, all the time.
It worked better on a second watch. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool.
I was about to say, for me, it worked worse on a second watch, and it didn't, like, it's not like I was like, oh, I gotta drop this to a 3 or something. I rated it a 3.5 both times.
Yeah.
I was just more, like, I was less engaged in any of, like, the personal conflict, because at the end of the day, it really feels like it doesn't matter as much to the movie, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't really matter really where the Cady and Gemma relationship end up, when the finale is more focused on just M3GAN in general.
I guess so. I could see what you're saying, but I think it's a good and important, like, thing for the movie to do.
Well, take that final climax scene when they have the whole, and it actually really bothered me this time around that it's in there. It just seems weird and off. But when M3GAN is like, oh, we can do it together. Like, we can paralyze her together.
That was still, like, the craziest
And you have the readout of her emotions, and, like, the trust jumps
one,
up
yep.
right as she's walking forward. I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, obviously that trust is for Gemma, not for her.
Exactly.
But I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to presume, even though, again, that it has made Cady more, like, stunted and violent. I think it's kind of stupid to presume that, like, she would help M3GAN with that and be anything but horrified at what M3GAN is doing. Like, it seems like a silly point of conflict, because that's because at first Gemma's like, no, Cady, no, like, she was about to actually come forward and paralyze her aunt with a pen. Like,
dude, there's I think that's honestly, like, the dumbest beat in this whole movie, and it's a pretty, like, far-fetched kind of weird movie to begin with, and I think that's, like, the dumbest plot point, because it doesn't make much, like, emotional sense or really all that much thematic sense for Cady to be like, oh, well, maybe.
I was about to say, because Cady has, like, loved M3GAN, but at the same time, like, she's not completely inhuman now.
I was about to say, just because you love something doesn't mean that you're, like, willing to act violently in like, favor of it, you know?
Well, like, violently.
Necessarily.
I was about to say, like, that. Because, like, when she was upset and everything, she, like, grabbed the scissors and slapped Gemma. But I don't think that's very, like... I don't think you can conflate that to her being willing to paralyze her aunt.
Right, yeah. But yeah, no, that is a weird beat, and that's honestly one of the only, like, there's a couple things like that in this movie where I'm like, that was kind of weird.
Well,
right?
Again, and it usually ties into just the Cady and Gemma relationship stuff, because I feel like it's just not written as well as it could be, and it doesn't take away a lot from the film, because it's got a lot of other things going on. But again, that's more or less what I think is the weakest part of the film.
Yeah, no, I think the Gemma Cady stuff, while good, I think it's...
Yeah, no, there's still some fun stuff.
I think it's good.
I love the first therapist scene, too.
Dude. That scene is kind of funny.
She goes up, they're like, you can play with something, and there's a bunch of stuff out of box, like that she could have gone for, but she goes for the in-packaged, like Japanese packaged giant Bakugan, and like she stabs that box open.
Dude.
She does not carefully. She like rips the box open, and then they start rolling it, and it is really funny.
I was trying to think of like some sort of significance, like why they would put vintage toys in there, but I honestly couldn't come up with
I mean, I don't think there's much significance for that. I think that was more just
a fun thing.
She works at a toy company.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she collect toys?
That is true, yeah.
And then it kind of makes for an interesting conflict for like the whole Cady's living here now.
That's true.
To have toys that are like, oh, you can't play with those aren't toys. But you could also say that it ties into somewhat of the idea of like what is and isn't a toy.
Yeah, I was about to say they draw a specific, like, that's not how you use that toy kind of thing, which again, like, the movie is kind of about misuse of technology, so I guess it makes sense. I don't know. I was trying to read into it a little more, but yeah.
I mean, I don't think this movie is like the most in depth. I think it's a relatively smart screenplay most of the time.
Exactly, yeah.
But sometimes it can be a little stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, I'll ask Micah, do you have like a favorite like M3GAN moment in this? Like,
actually,
any of like
I feel so silly with
solo
this.
scenes.
I do. Yeah. I have a favorite M3GAN moment. And I think it's mainly just like the song that really ties it together.
The tech demonstration song?
Like, well, like when like from when David is like, oh, we're trying to do the tech rehearsal and we don't have to the kill in the hallway. I love that. I love that kill. And the music, like it feel like just
Walk
the song.
by Night comes on.
I was going to say Walk by Night. That's such like a good horror movie song. I love that. And like a campy, like again, like a Jason.
That is a great needle drop though.
I was about to say it feels like classic. It feels like they're cementing her into the horror landscape as she does this goofy fun dance and like kills him in a really fun way.
I know so many people mocked like people's love of that like moment because it was all over the trailers and marketing for this movie.
I mean, it looks so stupid in the trailer, and it is stupid, but it's so fun to me.
I was about to say, I honestly think that people who don't like that, like in concept, need to go watch the movie.
Well,
because it works really well in like just the general logic and momentum of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, even then though, I could see how this movie could easily be not your thing.
Yeah,
if you don't get into that, it's still like if you don't get into the movie on a conceptual level from like when you watch the movie, you're not gonna like the hallway scene because like you're not enjoying M3GAN as a character.
I was about to say, I just love anytime M3GAN is on screen, like the effects for her and just the way she's written and everything. It's so good.
Her musical numbers and like singing again, like she sings like Titanium as a lullaby.
She sings like 3 separate songs in this movie.
Yeah, right. It's so funny. And the fact that she's like about to get ripped apart by Cady and she's like, you gotta axe. Oh gosh. Like that's gonna actually help. Like again, I think it's kind of goofy how much she feels like she's grabbing like just how much she feels like she's grabbing all of her knowledge from the internet.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think M3GAN's like a really surprisingly well written like villain for this movie. I don't know why. It's great.
And hey, for all you people in the Letterboxd top reviews, since I saw so many top reviews saying this, in the unrated cut, M3GAN does say the F word.
It's true.
I guess you can be appeased now.
I don't know why so many people want like a tiny robot girl saying the F word, but you know, there it is.
Yeah,
if you want it in the unrated
go. I guess you're gonna have to get a Peacock Premium subscription.
So it's a loss. It's a total wash, Micah. You have to get a Peacock Premium subscription.
It's interesting though. Not about that, but I feel like this is gonna get. I feel like this is gonna get a physical release, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of sad, and some extent that this gets a physical release, but like no other horror movie that's released lately has.
Yeah, because Barbarian
doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Even something as far back. Gosh, there was a movie that just came out like a while ago that was so popular. Smile doesn't have one.
Really?
I don't think so.
Oh man.
Well, maybe it did. Dang, what
I was
is
about
it?
to say.
There was another horror movie that was a big, like, there's a lot of horror movies right now.
I was about to say, the fact that we're questioning whether or not Smile had a physical
that came out recently and just had no physical release, which is crazy. And I mean, I'm happy that this is getting a physical release.
I mean, yeah, it's a fun movie. It is a shame, though. I mean, streaming services in general, this has been a problem for. I think we've actually complained about it.
Prey didn't get a physical release.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's a Hulu
Barbarian
film.
didn't get a physical release.
Yes.
And there was one like sequel or something. Like I think Scream. Did Scream get a physical? No,
Scream 5?
It did. Never mind.
Yeah, it did.
There was some sequel. I saw some people talking about it just a little bit ago. That there was some sequel that didn't get like a physical release even.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But yeah, it's just interesting that this of all movies is like I feel guaranteed to get a physical release.
Yeah,
it is Blumhouse. So.
It is Blumhouse, yeah. I would probably I didn't give my favorite M3GAN moment, Micah, so I'm probably gonna say maybe the like second lab sequence. That one's really fun. When she starts like going crazy on the technicians and everything, I'm like, that's cool. But the hallway scene obviously is like a really great sequence too. That's a lot of fun. I'm not as big on the like forest scene. That's honestly one of my least favorite sections of the movie.
I think the ear thing is fun.
No, the ear thing is cool, but like I don't know. That's when I'm least engaged, honestly, is during like all of the alternative learning thing. Like I think it's cool and I'm glad that it's in there, but it's when I'm least engaged.
Yeah, I was
with
about
the
to
movie.
say there's some funny moments, but outside of that there really isn't like much.
But yeah, no, there are lots of really fun
the M3GAN has no physical release.
Really?
Yeah. Which was like a really popular horror movie.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff that's been out lately, like just especially in the horror genre with no physical release.
Yeah. No, it's a troubling trend for sure.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that brings up but I agree with you for the forest scene.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it really isn't the most engaging thing at all. But I would say that probably that brings up an interesting thing about M3GAN's physicality for your favorite scene, because you were talking about the lab scene.
Yeah.
And I love some of her physicality. She can be
There's some great choreography,
really
yeah.
Yeah, like I love to, like, it only happens a couple times specifically, but sometimes she'll have just like a super slick like movement, like kind of an attack thing, like with that, like when she like whips around really fast and does the cord around his neck, or like when she's fighting Gemma later and she like punches the knee and immediately grabs her hair, which like she falls over.
It's a great beat.
It's just, it shows some like really cool, because like M3GAN is never at any point showed as being like too overpowered, which I appreciate. She's not like this, you know, just like rip their heart out instantly kind of a villain.
Yeah. No, she could be that. She is stopped from killing Gemma like twice in this movie.
I was about to say, which I think works well for M3GAN, and it also makes her like really fun when she is able to just like surprise people and like do really quick motions and fun stuff. Again, like even the hallway scene, she's being a fun villain in that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I really like a lot of the physical performance of M3GAN, and a lot of the choreography for her is really good. And just, I don't know, like you said, it's nice to have like an iconic sort of horror villain on the screen. It's just not something we get very often.
What do you think of the side characters I wanted to mention? Because I like a lot of the side characters are really, like David he's so much fun.
David is a lot of fun. That is true. I think he's just the right amount of like mean and funny in this. Yeah, it's good.
But you got David's assistant. You've got the two other people working on M3GAN.
Yeah, the assistant has some good stuff. It's so funny to me that like his plot to steal Megan's plans.
I swear that's just for the sequel.
But like honestly, it's so brief, and then it's followed by a pretty great joke. I can't even be that mad about it.
I noticed that the second to like after I finished the movie, I was like, wait a minute, his plot never went anywhere. But I hope and I pray that in the sequel there will be a knockoff Megan.
Megan 2.0, baby.
Like that, not like that. There will be a Megan 2.0, but there will also be knockoff Megans.
I want
knockoff Megan so bad in the sequel.
Michael wants like a Child's Play 2 situation where there's just like a whole factory full of Chuckies.
Exactly. Is that too much to ask for? A factory full of Megans?
Factory full of Megans. I would be very excited to see that.
Which I also well, here, go. I'll mention that afterwards.
I was about to say, what are the other side characters? The two lab people are pretty funny. I like the guy a lot.
You don't have too many like actual, because you got the therapist, the two lab characters, David, his assistant.
I was about to say
That's about it.
The other like female lab character is like, I don't remember her name. But she's like really one of the few voices of reason in this whole movie, which is quite funny. She's just
like, maybe this is not a good idea.
I was about to say, everyone's just kind of ignores her.
She's like, maybe you should actually spend some time with the kid. And they're like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever you say, man.
I'm building the newest iPad. Shut up.
But yeah, no, I generally like the side cast a lot. There's some really like funny beats with a lot of them, like the one police guy who questions Gemma.
I was about to say, I just wanted to mention them because I think they bring a lot of like levity and fun kind of stuff to the pacing, especially.
It gives a lot of like fun beats for you to kind of chew on during some of the more exposition-y scenes.
I was about to say, and like you're not just sitting at home with Gemma and Cady and Megan. Like there's actually, because like honestly, I've seen a lot of like tech horror movies, and a very like normal premise for something like this would be that they would like go to a cabin somewhere and it would just be the three of them, and then they would be there for the entire movie or something,
which is very difficult to write well,
and it often comes off usually pretty boring when wow, in a story like that there would be more gaslighting and stuff, whereas like Gemma pretty quickly does not trust Megan,
right? I think that's a pretty good like plot point, well, not plot point, but just like the way it develops feels very
I was about to say they write around a lot of the problems that they could have run into. Again, one of the only instances that feels just like sloppy writing was again that thing right at the end with the whole she's gonna help Megan, because that's just stupid. But like the movies like this can very easily run into writing that seems like stupid because obviously it's like a stupid movie in concept and a lot of its humor, but like it is not a stupid movie. And like a lot of worse movies would have done a lot with like Gemma not believing, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of like different things here and there.
There were a lot of pitfalls that other movies have fallen into.
A lot more annoying relationship drama with Cady and Gemma. Like just there's a lot of stuff that could have made this so much worse. And I think what we got is pretty darn fun, and I think the side characters definitely benefit a lot to that.
I was about to say the side characters really do give this movie quite a bit of character. It's good.
The neighbor is really fun. I like the neighbor and the dog. Like I actually really like the dog like death scene kind of thing, when like I think that's Megan honestly at like some of her creepiest.
Dude, whenever she does like the imitating voices thing, it sounds so cool. I like it.
Like and that too, like later on she gets better at it. This is like her first time doing it, and it sounds so just like distorted but correct, and it's so creepy. I love it.
Right. No, I loved that beat. It's great.
But I did want to mention that I actually looked it up, and there was one other change that would have made it into the original cut that did not make it into the unrated version.
Okay.
And I assume just because they didn't finish filming all of it or something.
Yeah, probably.
But as you might imagine, and I thought about this afterwards that it would make sense, but as you might imagine, at the actual tech show, there was supposed to be a lot more deaths.
Yeah.
They were supposed to kill a lot of people.
I was about to say, they brought like a ton of people up there only to just have them like scream at the bloody elevator after Megan steps out.
If I understand correctly, like M3GAN stepping out of the elevator was then supposed to kill a lot of them.
Yeah, no, because if you hadn't shot that already and they're like, we're going to make it PG-13, there's no way you would shoot that sequence.
Or even if you shot it and didn't have the VFX finished, that would cost so much to
I was about to say, that would be an expensive sequence.
Because I was about to say, M3GAN alone is not cheap to put on screen.
Yeah, I was trying to look up some of the like effects and stuff, but it's a pretty good mix of like CGI and practical and animatronic and puppet stuff.
And you know, the actress themselves, like they did a lot, because originally, if I'm not mistaken, they wanted to do mostly puppet, but they found that was going to be pretty not viable pretty fast. Yeah. So they did a really interesting combination of like puppet work, the real actress, and CGI.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, because M3GAN's facial expressions almost always look really good, like you know, like the animatronic stuff, because I was reading up on like the actual animatronic like mask for M3GAN. I was like, oh, this is so cool. The way it articulates is really great.
Yeah, no, they do a fantastic job. I'm glad they didn't like go like full like, oh, we'll just CGI somebody's face to look more like a robot or something. Like that. Having an actual animatronic face makes M3GAN work so much better. I
was about to say it really sells it. I honestly, like, anytime M3GAN's on screen, I'm like, man, this is great. You know, and Chucky, I mean, obviously kind of pioneered that sort of thing for having like a small puppetish character on screen for a lot of the movie. Yeah. But yeah, I think M3GAN pulls it off really, really well.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, do you have any other questions?
Not really, man. Points? I mean, like, M3GAN's it's a pretty simple movie, but it is very good.
Pretty simple, pretty concise. Yeah. It's fun, it's goofy, it's mostly engaging. Yeah. It's just not like, you know, consistently the greatest.
Yeah, it's not like mind-blowingly great, but it is great, I think.
I think it's pretty good. Like, it hits everything just fine, and it ends up being really enjoyable. I don't think there's anything super standout, even from a filmmaking perspective. Like, there's a lot of times where I wish the lighting was a little better.
I really like the editing in this. I didn't realize how great it was.
I was about to say, the editing is pretty good, especially the comedic editing.
I was about to say, it sells a lot of the, like, rhythm and, like, comedy beats of the whole movie. It's quite well edited.
Yeah, even a lot of M3GAN's physicality works mostly through the editing. Exactly. Like, the editing is genuinely pretty great in this.
Yeah, it sells a lot of this movie, man.
But a lot of, like, I don't know, it's still too digital for my taste, especially in the lighting. It just, you know, it looks like a new movie in terms of the fact that it is not well lit.
That's fair. There's it's at least more dynamically lit than like a Marvel movie nowadays.
That's not hard to do.
I was about to say, that's a pretty low standard.
I think I could more dynamically light something than a Marvel movie with like zero lighting equipment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, M3GAN, it's a fun time, I think.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it's a solid 3.5 movie, both the unrated and rated cut. I kind of wish we would have gotten, like, having looked up about the whole full, but at the same time, if this does have a sequel, like, I kind of hope we save that for the sequel. You know, like, save her going full, like, oh, I'm like murdering everyone for the sequel. Because at the same time, thinking about it. And I mean, I'm sure I would have liked it, but I feel like her killing a bunch of people then kind of would have taken away from the climax where she gets taken down.
Very true, yeah.
Not super easily, but like not like she doesn't seem as like
she's not indestructible or anything.
Yeah,
like she can be killed.
She's not just like rip it again. I actually made a joke about it. She like the movie does not go like Malignant style in its end where like people are just getting ripped to shreds.
Malignant is crazy, dude. Because Malignant, like, she's like ripping people in half in that movie, and that that works really well for the climax of Malignant, but it would feel very much out of place. Like
I was about to say it would feel weird to have something like that and then to go on to the at-home climax, which maybe the climax was different. I'm not sure. Yeah, but it would seem weird for it to be different because it feels natural for Bruce to be there in the climax. So I don't know.
Yeah, I hope 2.0 we see a little bit more like crazy fun like action horror stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten out of like, here is why M3GAN, here is how M3GAN. Yeah. Now we can just have M3GAN.
Now M3GAN can just be, exactly. Yeah. Fingers crossed M3GAN 2.0 will be the superior movie.
Yeah, I hope it goes like, I hope it fully makes it through, because a lot of movies, even after they get greenlit, stuff will happen to cut them off.
Yeah.
But I hope M3GAN 2.0 gets made.
But yeah, M3GAN, it's a lot of fun. Definitely would recommend it if you're old enough to watch M3GAN. Go for it. And if you're old enough, if you think you have the stomach for the unrated cut,
it's really like
it's really not.
It would be like the lightest R-rated horror movie.
But I don't want to be like recommending it to like 12-year-olds or something.
I mean, it would still be rated R.
I know. I'm like, if you got the stomach for it, go for the unrated cut, because I think it's a little better marginally.
Yeah, I would say it's marginally better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's M3GAN.
That's M3GAN. Thank you for listening to our discussion about.
Thank you for listening to our discussion. Now they're gonna turn it off. Now they're like, oh, it's over.
No, it's not over.
You can't say thank you for listening. That cues everybody to be like, it's done.
Well, now, Micah, now they're listening for sure.
No, they're clicking off. Even as I say it, they're clicking off. We have another segment.
Got another
guys.
segment after this.
So this is not the end. Do not listen to his insane ramblings. We'll be right back after a brief pause. Alright, so for those of you who have never made it this far, or whose thanks for listening had steered you clear, or are new to the podcast, we do a little segment at the end called the What We Watched segment, where we talk about what we watched.
We talk about
in between episodes. We talked about all the movies that we recently logged since our last episode.
Full circle. I can't believe it.
Our last episode was on the 21st.
Yes.
So we're going from that on for what we watched.
Yes, indeed.
So on the 22nd, I watched something, but so did you. But I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
Since you have less things.
I watched quite a few less movies. That doesn't seem right.
And technically, this was the night of the 21st that I did this.
Yes.
But I watched A Woman Under the Influence, my very first John Cassavetes movie.
Ooh.
I was very excited for this. This was the one I bought the whole Criterion box set because I was very interested in his work that I had seen. He seems like a kind of director that I would really love.
Yeah.
And it was a really great price, and I had to get it. But this was the first one I wanted to go in for because it was the one I was most excited for, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Who would have thought it?
People always say like, "Oh, the performances," but the performances are literally so amazing, like practically perfect. Just like almost every element of it. Like the editing, the pacing, cinematography, blocking, like everything is just fantastic in it. And it's also one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my life. It's probably the only movie that has ever made me cry within like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was also like sick to my stomach for half of the movie. So it was like dang, this thing,
that's crazy.
This thing like kills you. It kills you. But it's a fantastic movie. I give it a 5 out of 5.
I think I watched this late on like the night of the 21st too. But I rewatched Scream 3, which we did a whole episode on. I did not enjoy it as much on a rewatch. This was my only this was my second time watching it.
Ravi was going crazy when he watched it the first time, I think.
I mean, I don't know. I was. I just wanted to love it. And I did love it, so I mean, I don't know.
He gave it a 5-star when he first watched it, which is an insane rating to give Scream 3.
Well, like a couple days later, I dropped it to a 4.5, and then on this rewatch, I dropped it to a 4, which I think is still maybe a bit generous after seeing a later entry in the Scream franchise.
It's a 3-star movie.
But honestly, it's just such a good time. I don't know.
I would stand by that M3GAN is a 0.5-star better than Scream 3.
I don't know, man. Scream 3, it just has so much like energy to it. I don't know how to explain it. Like
I feel like all of the violence and stuff in Scream 3 is so lame.
No, honestly, of the Scream sequels, especially now that I've seen 4,
they brought back gore in 4.
I was about to say,
I'm so happy.
This is easily like the lamest and like worst sequel to Scream, like as a sequel to Scream, but I think it's a really fun movie in spite of that. But yeah, it's weird. But I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Then on the 23rd, I watched Moonlight. Barry Jenkins, Best Picture winner.
I mean, most people know Moonlight, right?
Yeah. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of Black directors' movies for Black History Month.
Yes.
And this was definitely towards the top of my list. I've been very excited about this for a while. So
it's Moonlight.
I was glad to finally make it to it, and it freaking rocked. I understand some of the complaints some people have about it, but like even then, like nothing stood out as like being bad to me. Really, I just loved being in the movie. I really want to watch it again. I would love to own this movie. It's really fantastic. I love its portrayal of romance. I love its portrayal of masculinity. I love its visual storytelling. It's really, really cool, and it pulls off the 3 segments way better than like anything I've ever seen because it's really well paced.
I'm very interested to see Moonlight because I love like films with like set chapters and defined
sequence. It's not
like,
too long, Robbie.
I know.
It's not too long. They like are they're paced well. I was like when we switched to chapter 2, I was like, we got good like story motion.
That's
here.
Good, man. I can't wait to see it. It looks great.
But also it's mostly set in Florida, and it reminded me how much I wish I was in Florida right now. But then it was also partially in Atlanta, which I'm like, hey, that's where I live.
It's like I find the locations in this film deeply relatable.
Florida and Georgia, home sweet home. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Very cool. Very cool indeed.
Then on the 24th, I watched Sharp Objects, or rather, I finished Sharp Objects.
I was about to say, you watched all of Sharp Objects?
The HBO miniseries with Amy Adams. And
Amy Adams.
I'd been
great.
I'd been very excited for this because I'm a huge Amy Adams fan, and I'd heard that this was actually something good that she'd been in, which is rare to find anymore. And it kind of rocked. It's not like the greatest thing in the world. It's definitely got some issues, but at the same time, what it's doing, it executes really well. It has great atmosphere, really great performances, and a really fun mystery. So I was very like, it's 8 episodes. It's not too long. It's very concise. It's very fun. It's creepy. I think they do a really fantastic job of communicating a lot of the story without much dialogue. Your main character in Amy Adams doesn't really talk much. Like she just doesn't say much dialogue.
It's a bit of a feat to try and write that way.
I was about to say, but through a lot of the editing and writing, they do a really great job of communicating her emotions and story without her having to say stuff.
Yeah, the like portion of an episode that I watched, it was pretty great.
And again, I love how consistently creepy and disturbing it is. It gives it a good vibe for what it's going for.
Cool.
I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I want to see it, mostly just because, Amy Adams. But yeah.
Then also on the 24th, I watched The Strays, a 2023 Netflix movie.
Who'd have thunk it?
And who would have thought it was bad? It was kind of very bad.
I was about to say, unless Netflix is like distributing a already like pretty widely acclaimed like studio or director or whatever, their originals tend to not be very good.
Well, I feel bad too saying that it's bad because like the direction, the production design, editing, stuff like that, it wasn't like great, but it was fine. Like it was fine. It was even, I would say that even some of the lighting was better than what you'd see in a lot of Netflix movies. Like it seemed to have a decent grasp on filmmaking.
Yeah.
But the writing was atrocious. I hated the script.
That's terrible, man.
And
that always sucks.
I think like the actors were doing a good job. Most of them were like first time actors for movies, and like I thought that was all fine, but like it's just a bad script, which really like one of the worst scripts I've seen in a while. Man, which really turned me off.
That's a shame.
I give it a 1.5.
All right.
Then also on the 24th, we watched M3GAN.
We watched M3GAN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good.
Then on the 25th, I watched, if you noticed, I watched most of these. He watched like 2 films, by the way.
I watched 2 movies over the past week that were not M3GAN. 2 of I rewatched M3GAN twice.
But yeah, I watched a lot. I'm trying to get through it. Yeah. On the 25th, I watched Mean Streets for the first time. Scorsese movie, one of his most defining early on features. Very, very fun. It's got a really great atmosphere and vibe to it, especially like a lot of people have pointed out, a lot of its low budgetness and messiness actually leads to a lot of its grimy feeling coming through well.
Yeah.
And it's like really interesting and everything, but at the same time, outside of like the characters, it's not like the greatest thing in the world. It's not the greatest script. It's not that well paced. It's just fine. It kind of reminded me of watching something like Hard 8 from PTA, where like it's a really great director and you can see like how like a lot of their stuff started out and it's very neat, but at the same time it's not nearly to the standard of a lot of their other work.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got from Mean Streets, but I still am very excited for it.
But yeah, it was still really fun, and I actually, like, surprisingly, I didn't even know he was in it, because like Robert De Niro seems like he would be the main character and he is not. But Harvey Keitel, I don't know how to say his name. The guy from National Treasure, the somebody's got to go to jail guy.
Yeah,
he's the main character, and he's really fun in this.
He's great.
I love him in this.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a very fun protagonist to follow, but I give it a 3.5.
Very nice, very nice.
Also on the 25th, I watched The Departed for the first time, another Scorsese film. This was the day I was feeling like the most sick, and I stayed in bed all day. Well, actually, I guess I kind of felt really sick the next day too. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to watch some Scorsese pictures, because often the reason I like Scorsese so much is that not only are his movies really good, but they're also usually just really fun and popcorny and good to watch.
I was about to say, they usually kind of breeze by. Which is nice.
And The Departed, while like it wasn't like one that I was looking forward to the most, but at the same time I had time to like lay down and watch it, and it's pretty long, so I was like, yeah, I'll go for it.
Yeah.
And I actually really liked it. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, because there's just a lot of elements I'm not a fan of, but it's really, really goofy and fun, and like it's so stupid.
It looks like a good time.
It's so stupid and fun, but also like pretty. It's got a great like message, and like why did I just lose the name of the word I was looking for? Dang it, it was
I have no
allegory.
clue.
It's got a really cool allegory that you can read from it from a couple different things. Again, you could, if you can imagine, Rebby, you could read it as an interesting reading of the Catholic Church.
Oh no, not again.
He's back at it.
It keeps happening.
But no, it's really fun. I like DiCaprio a lot in it. Matt Damon. I can't believe the cast is so goofy. Anthony Anderson is in it.
I was just looking forward to seeing Matt Damon in a Martin Scorsese movie, honestly.
But yeah, it's pretty great. Jack Nicholson is pretty great too. I gave it a 4.5.
Cool. On the 26th, I watched a little film called
well, I actually had something before that.
Oh shoot, you did?
Yeah, on the 26th.
Dang, bro. I was all prepped and ready.
Before we got to that, I watched Before Sunset on the 26th.
Oh man. Linklater
film. It's the second in the Before trilogy, and honestly, it is absolutely fantastic, just as good as the original. If you prefer this kind of vibe to it, could even be better. I think it's got a very interesting and a lot more down-to-earth discussion on stuff, being that they're just talking about how like young they were in like the first movie, and the first movie comes off as very like an extreme romanticism of love, whereas this is a little bit more of like a down-to-earth but still like love is super cool and awesome kind of look at love.
Well, there you go.
And I love these movies. They're so awesome. I can't wait to finish the trilogy. But yeah, I give it a 5 out of 5.
It looks cool, man. Gotta be excited for it.
Then, Rebby, we watched.
Because I was like, wait a minute, I watched this with Micah. What am I saying?
That's what now? When you started jumping into it, I was like, what are you talking about? We watched that.
Yeah, we watched a little film called Scream 4.
They're going to take it off Netflix.
We're going to take it off
Because usually, again, this would not be like, we're watching a lot of horror movies recently, and this would not be like horror movie central for the middle of February. But they were going to take it off Netflix, and this was the only one outside of like 5, which we hasn't seen, that we didn't own.
Yes.
And I was not very excited. I wasn't expecting much. I had not been that big of a fan of any of the Scream sequels. I mean, we talked about both of them on here.
Yes.
Scream 2 is really fun, but I didn't think it was like
It's
I don't
weird.
know. It's not.
2 is strange.
I don't really.
But
like,
it is fun.
I don't really like 2 and 3 as sequels to Scream because I really, really love Scream for what it's doing as a horror movie.
Yeah.
And Scream 2 and 3 are just not really horror movies.
Yeah, they function very strangely as like sequels to a movie.
2 is a little bit better in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Scream 4 surprised me, and they brought back blood and gore and cool ghost face stuff while also being really fun and having great side casts. And like I really liked it.
No, Scream 4 is like a total blast of a movie, and it works a lot better as a sequel than like I would argue 2 or 3.
And we have Kirby.
We got Kirby.
Who doesn't love Kirby? Kirby's so cool.
But yeah, you get like actual like good imposing ghost face stuff in this one. You get like you said, an actual like R-rated feeling level of gore.
A fun mystery that doesn't have something to do with stab.
Oh gosh,
I hate the stab in this is the most acceptable stab has ever been. I just do not like stab.
I mean, that's
Scream 2
fair.
and 3, and like 3 Rebby is all about stab.
That's
and I'm like,
true.
I hate this. This is so annoying. This just has like the stabathon, which stabathon is fun.
But yeah, this has some really good direction. I know Wes Craven directed it, but it's very well directed and very well shot too.
And Kevin Williamson is back, which he did not write 3, which is why it's the worst one.
Did not write 3, that's true.
And I just love Kevin, like the way, say what you will about his writing, it's not always like the most perfect.
Yeah.
But I just love the way he writes. Like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, all of the Scream movies that he wrote, like they just have such a good vibe.
I Know What
They
You
have
Did
really
Last
great
Summer
dialogue.
has an impeccable vibe in its like dialogue and just theming and everything. It's great, and I mean, so does Scream 4.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite Scream movie since Scream.
Yeah,
it still doesn't touch Scream by any means.
It's not Scream,
but it's got a fun mystery that's not like goofily stupid on who Ghostface is.
The Ghostface reveal in 3 is like famously dumb. But yeah.
So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Very nice. I almost gave it a 5. I was so close, but I ended up landing on the 4 instead.
We'll go with this again. A reminder to our listening audience: Rebby's only doing a 5.
I'm not handing out.
He's not doing a 10-point.
I'm not handing out those half stars.
So there's no 4.5. So where you think, oh well, if he didn't want to give it quite a 5, but also didn't fully feel a 4, wouldn't it be nice if there was a nice in between, like a 4.5 he could give it?
No, what I'm gonna do is
Rebby doesn't like that.
I'm gonna rewatch it and then give it a 5.
But it's not a 5-star movie.
But it could be, Micah. You just gotta believe.
You just gotta believe.
I was like, what else did you watch? But that was so soon. Like you wouldn't have watched anything else.
We watched M3GAN.
That's what else I watched. The unrated cut of M3GAN.
And we watched that yesterday night.
Yes,
last night is a better way of wording that.
I was about to say yesterday night. Yes, last night. But I was kind of blah because we've been sick, and I sound sick. But hopefully there was some good discussion
blah blah
today.
Blah 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 blah.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Like you say at the end of something.
Oh my goodness.
And we will catch you next week.
Next week?
Who knows what we're doing next week? Nobody knows.
Nobody
we don't know.
knows.
What even is next week? We're gonna be in March next week.
Oh wait, I do know what we're doing next week.
Yeah, we do know what we're doing next week. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So
look forward to kind of an unconventional episode.
Unconventional. So yeah, enjoy that.
Yeah. See you then.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.